There we go.
All right, and we're started 6:31 p.m. on February the 18th. Tonight we're gonna start, we'll go right through the schedule in order, just like we've been doing. So fire is up first. There was an updated version that should be printed out separately from your binders. Those were emailed out earlier today. So I will hand it over to, our chief.
It's a very, very minor change today. By the way, I did not ever get you back at this time. Here I am. So, just before we start, is there Mike Chatfield, the new deputy fire chief?
Hi, Mike.
How are you, sir? Mike's learning the administrative side of the department now, he's doing very well, so he's assisted with the budget. I'll just run down real quick their changes. Last year I came in at almost a flat raise for payroll. We were in contract negotiations at the time, so we did not budget for any increase. The contract settlement was 3% raises per year. The request for next year reflects the 3%. Total 6% increase in wages. However, we have a significant reduction in overtime. And the reason it's so significant is last year when we did our budget, we had an active hiring list. We won an arbitration award 2 years ago about not sending people to the fire academy if they're already trained. When we budgeted last year, we expected to hire people and send them to the academy. That list is expired, but we were not anticipating any hires this year to have to go to the fire academy. That's a significant savings, and Diane's been around for a long time. We talked about that 20 years ago. It's about $80,000 per person to send up to the academy because the backfill of 16 weeks, time and a half. That was a substantial arbitration award that we won. So that caused a reduction in our overtime. I did budget for 3 replacement firefighters. Last year was 5. We replaced 1 last year.
So, give me an idea, he's requesting $996,000. 10 years ago from now, was Kenny's first year as chief, my first year as chair of the fire commission. Back then, we bumped the budget from $850,000 a year before to $1.2 million that year.
Yeah, we spent.
This should give you an idea of the savings that we're looking at. Like I said, that was 10 years ago tonight.
Well, actually, if you look at it, 22, 23, the actual spend was 1.6.
1.6, yeah.
At that time, we were sending to the academy, there were a lot of vacancies. Now, as far as vacancies, we can guess, it's been a wheel, pick a number. As far as we know right now, I have 2 firefighters that can retire next year. Whether they do or not, they're not committed yet. As far as anyone leaving the department, we don't know. We maintain an open dialogue with the firefighters. If they're going to leave, let us know. We don't punish them. We don't do anything to them. And they've been pretty good about that. But as far as we know, nobody's in it on the hiring list at this point. It could be nobody. It could be 10 guys. I don't know. So that's where we stand as far as the personnel. On the last page, so just for your reference, is list of all the firefighters. We currently have 4 that are in the pension system. 2 of those are eligible to retire this year. 2 are coming up close to time. So number 5 down did not receive pensions. Number 28 down was hired after arbitration. 12 of our last hires have not gone to the fire academy. When you do the math, 12 times $70,000 in payroll and overtime, it's quite a bit of savings we've got. And we've got some great firefighters. Instead of going down for a change, it did put an increase in for public education of $2,000. That is primarily for smoke detectors. Over the years, the state of Connecticut has made smoke detectors available to a grant. Home Depot in the past has handed out smoke detectors free. The Elks Club for a while. Those grants don't exist anymore. We have one of our best that we operate. When we go to a house, especially an apartment or a house, if there is not an active smoke detector, we put one in. The best thing you can have in your home to escape is already detection by a smoke detector. So we'll put one up. Excuse me. Double-sided tape to the ceiling, and then at least it gets that protection for the night. We don't want to leave a home unprotected. We're going to look to buy about 100 smoke detectors and get them out. The 2 largest changes I have are both for mechanical service accounts for repairs. Our vehicle repairs are extremely expensive. Give you an example. We had 1 repair on 1 truck last year that was $13,000 out of a $20,000 budget. That was quite a substantial hit on that. It was for the turbocharger on 1 engine. Our mechanics division does a phenomenal job on in-house repairs, preventive maintenance, minor repairs. Whether it's motors, brakes, transmissions, The electronics are mind-boggling in fire apparatus today. There's 3 computer systems. They have the tech come in, it's a couple $100, just have them come in to plug the laptop in to tell me what's wrong with it. So we're just looking for an increase in that, so that's pretty much on track what we've been spending. That's pretty much where we are at. Any questions? Yeah, try to keep it, we kept it at a $20,000 increase out of last year's request.
So Ken, can you talk about the service contract? That looks like it says mechanic for me, for MECH,
Yeah,
what's
that
that?
is stuff like, we have air compressor needs to be inspected, air testing on that,
Okay,
air bottles, various equipment, and to get stuff annual testing through service contract. It's not part of building maintenance. The hood system in the firehouse kitchen, the extinguishing system, the sprinkler system in the building, for example.
Okay.
All service contracts.
thank you. Are there any other questions? I think, at least from my perspective, Chief, I'm very excited to see the overtime number going down.
Me too.
I know when you were chair on this board, it was the same kind of conversations, and, you know, a lot of us have sat around this table for quite a few years looking for that number to decrease, so thank you for bringing that. Hopefully it comes to fruition and we don't have any catastrophic changes or craziness going on. Any other things that, I don't know, might be unforeseen, that sort of like a roof that might be caving in or
No,
anything,
the
or,
roofs
you
are
know,
good,
any,
structurally it's good.
not that I want that to happen, but it's just something to be put on our radars when we get to the
We're not
capital.
looking at any major vehicle replacements this year. Our pickup truck is due. We can probably wait a year on that.
Okay,
The largest item I have for capital, we're still finalizing, is in both buildings, we have a diesel exhaust extraction system. If you pull in a firehouse, you see black hoses that come off the ceiling, that's the exhaust pipes. Those were put in 1999 when Joe Taft was mayor. The electronics in them are obsolete. The company's been in, they can't be replaced anymore. We're looking at that system replaced at both stations. It's about $53,000.
Just to refurbish it, not to replace that.
Just for refurbishment. That'll be in the capital for building maintenance. But we really don't have any major expenses coming up this year. One thing I do want to talk to Allison about is ordering our next fire pumper. If we order that after July 1st, we won't see it until 2029 or 2030.
Okay.
So it's in like 4 years. 4 years.
Wow.
And that is a nationwide industry problem. It's 4 years.
I remember we used to complain after for a year and a half,
Yeah,
remember?
we're buying trucks in 9 months like a baby. You ordered 9 months later, it was there.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
So you're suggesting let's start putting something away every year now?
Well, that's outside. We won't put anything away for that.
No, the lease program starts upon the delivery fiscal year.
Yeah, but we'd be locked in on interest rate or.
It's making that financial commitment that it's gonna begin a few years from the time.
And the idea is other stuff rolls off that bond payment before as well. So, but we'll talk about that later.
There's more of a permanent commitment when you're ordering than there used to be.
And I'd like to see that, if you were committed to taking that delivery in 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
No down payment.
And at one time, and again, maybe this is more of a capital discussion, but I remember when you were previous chief, you had that whole spreadsheet for replacing, coming up with a.
Yeah, but we're pretty much on track with that
Are
right
you?
now.
Okay,
With the rescue truck that's on order now, we didn't not anticipate 4-year build times for that.
yeah,
Okay, so
okay,
our rescue truck is a 2000, it's running, we'll hopefully get a few more years out of it. But we're pretty well, we're pretty close to that.
okay,
You know, with our mechanic staff are on top of, if the service manual calls for a service at 200 hours, they're doing it at 150 hours. So they're very much on top of,
okay,
preventive maintenance.
thank you.
East side budget is staying the same. But just to mention with East side, the 12 individuals that work up there took upon themselves, with my permission, to do some modifications. They moved a wall, moved some doors. It cost us sheetrock and paint. They did a lot of work on duty, on their own, saved us a ton of money. Actually made the station a little more compliant to fire code, believe it or not. Yeah, it was not, it was built in 1968, building codes have changed, so. It saved us a considerable amount of money, but having a contract would have been a $20,000 job easily if we went out. But that's just for some of the maintenance of the equipment up in the side. Building maintenance is on the account now.
So if anyone's looking around for East Side, that's in the book, or if you're online, it's A24 is the attachment. That's what Chief Hanks is referring to. You jumped the gun.
I'm
on
sorry
that.
to be. I asked years ago to combine them into one budget.
Yeah, maybe next year.
It's not my fault.
Should have been last year.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem like anything's really jumping out on the east side, and the net increase, if you look at everything in the lower right hand corner from the A20 fire budget, page 1 of 8, the net increase is just shy of $20,600. So all in all, I think it's a reasonable increase. If anyone has any other further comment or question, feel free to jump in. I don't
I would
see,
like to commend you on the job that you did on this budget.
I helped, Walter helped and Mike helped.
You almost, chief,
Was that?
almost, chief, like, oh.
and I don't see any hands up on Zoom, so I will take the silence as a good thing and we can move on. Alright. Up next on our agenda is the Naugatuck ambulance. A21 is the number.
One month away.
Chief Kelly, I'll hand it over to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you all the time. I'm Todd Kelly, Chief of the ambulance. If I haven't met you, nice to meet you. You have our budget as proposed, as well as our full operating budget. You should also have a copy of, and a couple of reports that I put together this year. We did things a little bit different this year because I wanted you guys to see everything. It's been just over 3.5 years since, the refurbish, we'll call it. Things have changed for the good, most definitely for the good, and we're continuing to grow. Outlined in those reports are some of those growths. And in that budget that I gave you are some of the things that we, we struggle with and we battle with, that our internal board of directors, that I work with them on going over. But I thought it was important to hear that rather than you guys just have two small little lines, to go off of, you've got the whole picture, and that's what you have, is the entire picture. Just real quick, I just want to talk about a little bit of our increase. This year, overall, our general increase is just about $20,000 over last year, increasing it to $370, and $28,000 in capital over last year. That capital expense right now, what's in that is a power load stretcher and a power lift stretcher. So saving our backs. All meaning, right? So we're limiting how much we're actually lifting patients. But that's a $60,000+ purchase just for those two items for one truck.
With saving workers' comp claims.
Tremendous.
$500,000 for back injury.
Easily. Other things that we considered to put in those capital budgets that we didn't, to try and be conservative this year. I didn't want to jump too high. I know there's a lot going on in town, us being what we like to call a quasi department. But I didn't want to jump too high. But things like ADs, our life pack monitor service agreements for our stretchers and our monitors, the power load systems, video laryngoscopes, just the small tool that we use to intubate somebody with the screen on there is about $5,000. The life pack monitor, I don't know if anybody's been in an ambulance or sees like the TV looking thing that we're carrying around. That brand spanking new is about $50. And as we progress and we add to our service, each of our ambulances need to have one of those. Right now, we're licensed for 3, and I want to go up because we're just getting busier. In order to do that, we need to get more of those. Some building remodels and upgrades. We want to upgrade our kitchen. We want to look at maybe redoing some floors. We want to add a carport. I've talked about a little bit over the last several months. Definitely in our meetings, the Burgess meetings, our board meetings. I'm working on it, getting some numbers. It has to be engineered. It's always a process. It is what it is. But it's something that we have to do to protect our equipment. We're going to be there for a while. I know down the pike is coming a new building, but that's not next year. That's probably not the year after. So we have to protect and invest in what we have now. So those are some things that would have been considered in the capital line item, but we didn't, like I said, in an effort to try and keep things a little bit lower. Some of them are in our overall operating budget. So we're going to try and do what we can on our end to get some of these things done. Cutting things close. It's not just equipment. It's personnel upgrades. It's raises. It's adding to our current staff that we have on right now. It has to be done. All these things have to be done. Excuse me. Our kitchen is from the day the place was built.
Pretty much, yeah.
And our folks are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We want them to be fairly comfortable at the very least in what they have and what they're working with. Over the last 3 years, we've got a really, really good understanding of how the town works, how we're gonna operate, our expenses that we're gonna need, and how much revenue we're actually gonna bring in. There was a thought when this whole thing started that we're gonna be doing more calls, so we're gonna be making all this much more money, but it's not the case. You can see in one of those, I believe one of those reports that was sent out to you that shows Medicare and Medicaid numbers. Those are huge numbers that just get chopped off right at the beginning that we're never, ever gonna see. Now, that being said, we've got some work with the legislative branch and I'm hoping to go to DC this year to follow some colleagues down to help to try and petition for more money as well as the local level, but we know how that works out.
Kyle, is that something our lobbyists should be working with?
They should. I've reached out to some. I know Rocky's reached out to one that put something out not too long ago. I've reached out to a few people, Seth Bronco being one of them, Senator Berthel being another. And I'm hoping to talk to them soon. I know both of them, so hopefully there's something we can do. Our makeup in town and what our payer mix is, it is what it is, right? Medicare, Medicaid, that's 70-something% of the people that we
The new
transport.
building too, we talked about that.
Right, exactly. It is what it is. Yeah, we're gonna be transporting people out of the North Main Street place. They're on Medicare, we're gonna get a couple $100 out of 1,000. It's better than nothing, but it doesn't pay for what we're doing, right?
Right.
$35,000, $45,000, $50,000 monitor, it's a big chunk of change. So nonetheless, we're not, we're out there doing calls. We're getting busier and busier. 5,300 calls we did last year. This year so far, from the beginning of the year, I think we're around probably 650. And we're not even through the end of February yet.
Right.
So it's been jammed, and it's gonna continue that way. It's what we're here for. But we gotta prepare for that too. We have to add personnel, we have to add more units on at any given time, and do the best we can to plan for when, like yesterday morning, we had 4 calls at once. Or Sunday morning, we had 4 or 5 calls at once. So those are the things we're trying to do as best we can. Like I said, in the very, very beginning of this, the hope was that the ask from Naugatuck Ambulance from the borough was gonna be limited. In my opinion, and I think other opinions, it still is limited compared to surrounding areas, compared to commercial services. There's one town just 2 over, right on the other side of Waterbury, that you'd fall off your chairs if you knew what they were getting. Dallas knows what they get. It might be.
It might be.
Sounds something along those lines. But good for them. Good for them. I'm not bashing them in any way. They're good friends of mine. I'm happy for what they're getting. They're getting a good service. So are you. You're getting an amazing service for a very, 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 very fair cost, I believe. So that being said, like I said, I gave you all the information, as much information I could, so that everybody has an open and honest and clear picture of what we're doing down there on Rubber Island.
There was a paramedic added part of the time. How many hours a week is there another paramedic?
Yeah, so as of right now, regularly, there's an additional paramedic 40 hours a week. We have begun to increase that. So typically there was 2 ambulances and BLS ambulances and 1 paramedic, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Since everything's gone on, 5 days a week, there's an added BLS ambulance, at least. 40 hours a week, there's an added paramedic. We had a Sunday, we added an extra ambulance Sunday afternoon for about 6 hours, just because it was getting busy. We have now begun to add this extra paramedic at different times just to get that added coverage.
Is it more easier in the winter than summer?
I can't, this year, yes. It doesn't always work out that way. The numbers, truthfully, in my opinion, there is no common ground to the numbers. We've been doing a lot of mutual aid, especially the last couple of days into Waterbury. They've been extraordinarily busy. So obviously when we're going to Waterbury a lot, that's gonna up our numbers. St. Mary's Urgent Care was closed for a period of time, so our numbers fluctuated there a little bit. That's a regular for us on a weekly basis from probably at the very least 5 to So not necessarily in the wintertime. Our numbers upped a little bit last year in the skate park. We did, half a dozen calls in the skate park. This year oddly enough, it doesn't usually happen that way, knock on wood, but the weather this year, the last couple of times, it got busier for us. Typically, it doesn't always because some people heed the warnings and stay home, but, the last couple they didn't, so.
The whole purpose is to save lives, and many times you need advanced life support to do that, which is why the extra paramedic is there. Because if you have a cardiac arrest and then somebody else has a cardiac arrest, you gotta have two paramedics there with the drugs that they need.
Certainly, if one
You
was
can't
me.
say, I'm sorry, you've gotta wait for a paramedic coming from Derby.
It's likely, to be honest with you, in that scenario, there is another one.
Having said
Ours
that,
gets called regularly, and that's one of the reasons, I actually just said to, EJ is our captain. For any of you that don't know him, I just said to him recently, I wanna look at putting, an additional fly car paramedic on the road also, in addition to what's already there. So. But,
But Dan,
Yeah, just a quick question. So back in the day, we had to get a lot of coverage from other towns. Now, from what I heard, we're helping Waterbury out a little bit more. Do we get,
a lot of it.
yeah, do they pay us for that?
So we have an actually very unique situation with Waterbury. Waterbury is split in half with, services that cover the city. Trinity Ambulance, Trinity Health of New England reached out to us about a year and a half, longer than that, probably closer to 2 years, over 2 years ago now. And said, we need some help. So we have an agreement with Trinity that when they know they're gonna be short people, because they were habitually short people, short staffed, and there was just no getting around it. So they try to now plan accordingly. So we have an agreement with them that says, they can call us at whenever time, it's usually a couple hours before, but and say, we need some help, and they pay us. They pay us to do this. They pay us, the cost of the EMT plus a little bit. They pay us, the fuel that we use and for any type of supplies that we use, on top of us getting that billing revenue, if there's any.
Okay.
That's a big if sometimes.
Yeah.
AMR side of town, we don't have that agreement right now. That being said, with the way things have gone the last couple of weeks, whether they get involved in something like that, I don't know, but we are gonna have a discussion. And the flip side, like you said, 3.5 years ago, we relied on everybody.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, they helped us.
Right.
And payback is nice when we can do it
Yeah.
for a period of time, but it's not gonna be a forever,
I
but,
agree.
so it's nice to hear that we do get something from
We do,
Trinity.
we have that Trinity, it's actually a very unique agreement. I've not seen another one, at least in the state. And we all have mutual aid agreements, there's always gonna be a time where A service is gonna rely on B service. It's just the nature of the beast. But, I mean, last year, I think our mutual aid, out of town, including our paramedic response, was just over 500. I think the inbound was less than 50. That we called in another ambulance to come do a call for us.
That's just the opposite of what it was years ago.
Correct.
Yeah. So, in looking at your budget, and please just, if I'm misunderstanding this, in looking at this, it looks like you have an income of $7,800. Okay, so that, you take that and you reinvest it into whatever needs to be done. You don't take that and say, okay, no, I get talk, even though we're asking for $370,000, we'll subtract, $7,600. No, because I'd rather you reinvest it in something that you guys need than,
Correct.
okay.
So if you look at the overall operating budget, take payroll, for instance. Payroll alone is an $800,000 range. So any of that income, anything that comes back in, it goes big, yes, to the coffers, if you will, of Naugatuck Ambulance, but that's also being built up to support, God forbid we ever come to a point where something catastrophic broke that we don't have additional money budgeted for.
Right.
I can't just come to the finance board and say, hey, we're gonna need to make a transfer from wherever. Or God forbid, for instance, there was a discussion a couple of years ago, I don't know if this got totally out. But we were gonna try and start a billing company. Right? A lot of things fell through. It wasn't quite as simple as a few of us hoped. So we didn't do it, right? We put the brakes on it before we lost any more money and realized what was going on. Griffin Hospital, who's actually working on some stuff in town also, has done exactly what we wanted to do. Created a small, more in-depth, more focused billing company. We're gonna be transferring over to them. The company, the services around here locally, being Oxford, Valley Emergency Medical Services, have already seen an increase on their revenue because of the better scrutiny, if you will, that they see. Now, that being said, if there's a glitch for a couple of months and our revenue stream goes down, we need to make sure that we got a little bit of cash over here to say, okay, we can still make sure we pay our EMTs and our paramedics.
Just to put it in perspective, when we took over the ambulance board, Bucky and Fran on the board, myself on the board, and bringing Kyle in, the other ambulance was probably 3 months ago going bankrupt.
Oh,
I mean, they had nothing. It was, sometimes we weren't sure if payroll was gonna be made. So in the 3 years.
it was a
It was
disaster.
an absolute disaster. You have no idea how bad it was. It was,
I was on the board and I don't know how bad it was, but I knew it was
It
bad.
was a lot.
Yeah.
Financially, we're trying to be a much better place financially with a little bit of a reserve fund, paying EMTs more than minimum wage now, trying to get them up to an average wage for EMTs.
Yeah.
And that's super,
Because
sorry.
you wanna keep that, because you wanna keep the good paramedics here
Yes, we
who
do.
get to know the town, who get to know the people.
People want to work here now,
Yeah,
which is what we want.
And we wanna continue that, right? So we've transitioned, historically, Naugatuck Ambulances use a contracted paramedic service, right? A paramedic owns or housed by XYZ company. We still do that to a point with Waterbury Hospital. It was a cost savings for us, it was a benefit for us. But we've also sort of, for the first time ever, in October, we started hiring our own paramedics, one of which is full-time on the ambulance. And as we continue, that's the route we're going. And we just, 5 or 6 people that are coming on board this month. And our goal is to bring on a few more, and continue on that path. But with all this, with the growth, where everybody typically gets a raise every year, we need to be on the same track. We wanna be, we can't necessarily be the highest, but I wanna be on the higher side of average, right? For what our EMTs and paramedics are. We have a different atmosphere down here for sure compared to other services, which is a huge plus. But as far as that salary is concerned, I wanna be in the higher side of average, right? I sat with Allison not long ago. We have a nice schedule of where we wanna see folks be at. As well as a replacement plan for the trucks and the equipment, so.
and the ambulance is next.
Thank you very much. I cannot take 100% credit for that.
Carmen and Greg.
That's right.
So just a couple comments with regards to Naugatuck Ambulance. So there's roughly a $20,000 increase request. Just to put that in perspective, especially for some of our newer members on the committee here, or the board, excuse me. Naugatuck Ambulance, if I just look, and if you wanna look with me at the very last page, the 2024 payers. If you look at the Medicare line, and Chief, keep me honest here, the gross on the Medicare line was $970-ish thousand. That was to be billed. And the net, that 416 is what you received, is that correct? Like you billed out
Yes,
970,000 and Medicare.
553 came off the top.
Right, so just so everyone's on the same page here, what they're billing out is not the dollars and cents that they receive, they get significant reductions. So for our 370,000 that we have budgeted, it actually makes up only about 15% of their total revenue. It's a very small number for a very important place that is saving our lives. The other thing I wanted to mention too, I sat with Chief maybe 2 weeks ago and I asked him, I'm not gonna have him say it out loud, I asked him what the average pay is. Then we did some research. An average full-time McDonald's worker makes approximately 71 cents less than what we're paying the wages for the majority of the individuals that work at the Naugatuck Ambulance. So if you think about those two things right there, Naugatuck Ambulance on Rubber Ave and McDonald's is right down the road. Which job is easier to do? And I'd imagine it'd be the one at McDonald's and you could make just 71 cents less and you're not saving lives. So I just wanted to put that in perspective for what they're asking for, because I'm going to go on record and say it's not enough. I think you should be asking for more. I was hoping that the number was going to be bigger. Maybe we could figure something out with the capital side and get everything that you need. But I just wanted to make that comment and be clear on that. It's only 15% of what they're bringing in. And the total budget itself is less than 19% of the total budget. Very respected and very low numbers. But if anyone else has any other comments or additions, I
The
will.
issue we have with the Medicare is the low payroll. State Office of Emergency Medical Services sets the rate that ambulances give out. That's a state rate. Another state agency tells us how much they're gonna pay. They don't talk to each other. And so one state agency says you can bill this, the other one says, yeah, but we're only paying this. And we cannot collect the difference.
Kyle, you can collect the difference, right?
Not on Medicare, Medicaid,
No.
cannot.
Yeah.
Private insurance, you
You're
can't.
talking about $1,000 ambulance trying to get reimbursed $350.
Right.
Take it or leave it.
And no ambulance service can survive on that. That's why many ambulance services do transfers from hospital to elderly homes, so that's where they get their money.
There's another avenue that we have, like, so we're trying to find revenue streams, right? For the way that we are. We got in the business of EMT staffing, right? Really just started off as me helping a colleague, us helping another service. And it's us paying an EMT to be in another service, and that service paying a premium to use our EMT and their ambulance and their uniform. So in theory, you make a couple of dollars off of there after all your expenses are paid. Something that we do fairly regularly is intercepts. When our paramedic goes out of town and intercepts, we'll use Beacon Falls, right? And most circumstances, it's not a big deal. We bill the insurance, no problem. But if that patient has Medicare, Medicare does not pay for what we call a paramedic intercept. So they'll pay the full boat of the ambulance without a question, but our portion of it, they won't touch. That being said, we have bundle bill agreements with several towns in our area. So the ambulance service, or Beacon Falls in that case, will bill out that full cost, and the ambulance service will pay us a portion of that, no matter what. So that's one of the ways, I don't want to say to get around it, but there are agreements that help with some of that. But outside of a typical Medicare trip in the town of Naugatuck, or Medicaid for that matter, whatever they pay, they pay. Not a penny more, we can't go after.
Smitty, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just a quick, with the way the salary is, do you have your guys, how long do they stay as far as with the department? Do they leave?
I have
Have
to
you had
say,
anybody retire from there?
not since I've been here.
Okay.
And for a very, very long time, to be fair, you couldn't. You couldn't. I've been there 3.5 years now.
Mm.
We have one individual that's been working as an EMT there for 20, over 20. For the most part, for a very, very long time, it was really the training center for commercial EMS. Truthfully,
Right.
that's what I called it when I worked there when I was 18.
Okay.
Now, there's plenty of people that started there just a couple of months before I started in that transition period that are still there. I'd like to say we've maybe had 5 people leave, willingly or unwillingly. And anybody else that's left is because they were excelling, right? We've got several that are in medical school that left to go to medical. We have one EMT that is currently a 3-year medical student at Quinnipiac, still actively working for us. We have one girl that has been an EMT, worked there prior to me, is still there. She's a PA, works in Waterbury Hospital emergency room. We have several that went to nursing school. We have several that went to paramedic school that are currently in paramedic school. One who started there as an EMT, brand spanking new EMT, went to school, became a paramedic, still working there. He was our first paramedic hire, full-time for Naugatuck Ambulance. So I'd like to say proudly that over these last 3 years, their turnover rate is very, very low because of distraught or an undesirable workplace. And that I want to maintain, right? I cannot compete with the wage yet.
Is that the way the culture is, or, I mean,
It's, well, back in the old ambulance service, they had a 10% turnover per month. Okay, we're not even that in 3 years, we haven't had a 10% turnover.
You have, you look at some of the larger commercial places, they offer different things. That's where I want to be at. I want to be able to offer a nice hefty full-time package for full-timers. Good medical benefits, a 401k, nice plentiful time off to be able to relax and recover. That's where we want to be. We do the best we can with what we have. I think I'd like to say, for the most part, if you talk to anybody that's there right now, they're happy with what's going on. They've gotten pay raises over the last 3.5 years. We've done some stuff. The chief said they just worked on some stuff at the East Side Firehouse. We had folks doing the same thing. We acquired one of the rooms that Public Works wasn't using next door, and we turned that into a different bunk room. We've moved some things around. We're doing what we can with what we have. And the folks, I think, that are there recognize it. And we have a constant flow of applications that come in. And I think our atmosphere, most of our board members know what the atmosphere is like from coming in and out of there. You can see some of our social media stuff. We try to keep, they were off sledding last weekend, you know? Sunday morning, it got crazy busy. I was out for the count. EJ came in, took everybody out to breakfast. You know, you're not gonna get that from the supervisor at the city up the road. It's not gonna happen. So we do these things in an effort, you know, there's a cost of money, yeah, but we retain these folks and they realize, they understand that care, you know? So as we progress, we want that hourly rate to increase, the benefits to get better and increase. And, you know, make sure that everybody sees that.
Between this guy and the one before him that helped us and the board's ideas, the employees know we're here for you. We want to support you. You tell us what you need and we'll see if we can give it to you. So if there's a few shortcomings, we're not paying quite as much as the other ones or something else, they're staying because they know that they have that support. And I really believe that's why, because of these guys that see them every day and say, we're here for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, Rocky, because it is, you know, we used to talk about these budgets. There's only a couple of us that were, you know, it's amazing and you've done an amazing job. And what you said about breakfast, it's funny because as an employee, my boss can't always, you know, put it in my paycheck, but a thank you or, you know, when I used to be in the office, I'm a remote worker now, but like, you know, getting, you know, a pizza or two or something, that makes a whole world of difference. And this was not the talk that we used to get from the ambulance service. And like I said, I think the turnaround that you have done is an amazing job. So congratulations to you.
I appreciate that. I gotta tell you 100% though, I'm just a very small fraction from the support of the board, the finance board, our board, the board of Burgesses and the mayor, and even more than 100%, the folks that are there right now doing calls. Those are the guys out there that are making a difference, hustling. 2 weeks ago on a Sunday, which is unheard of, between midnight and 6 p.m. on a Sunday, they did 25 calls. It's crazy. 25 calls in less than a 24-hour period. It was unbelievable. They didn't pass a call, they were hustling.
Someone will be home, hear all those calls and come in.
So Chief, one more question for you. If you were to tomorrow be able to give the raises you needed to, bring everyone up to where they should be, offer employee benefits, what would your actual dollar ask be? Are we looking at another 500,000, 800,000?
That's for 60 million.
Okay, this isn't the Board of Ed. Like realistically, like you're asking for 370,000, what would be that difference if you needed to literally make everything whole?
I don't have that.
And I just wanna
Can I
preface
speak
too,
to
I'm
that?
asking in the sense of, I appreciate the congratulatory, you're doing an amazing job, people need to get paid. I mean, it's, you know, you're stressed about bills, you're stressed about not having healthcare, these are things that if you don't have a good pay and you don't have benefits, you can't get, right? Like you can't help them in that regard, and yes, breakfasts and things like that, they go a long way and I'm sure they feel appreciated more so than others, but what is that number? Go ahead, yeah, whoever can, you know, roughly answer it. I'm just
I
curious
can't
what
give
that
you a
number-
hard number to that.
Right, absolutely,
It's a
yeah,
very
I'm asking you on the
difficult number.
spot.
Well, let's just like take it in pieces. We've had several meetings, more than several meetings,
Probably.
including phone calls and shooting ideas round and round, and we started building what you're asking for in
Yeah.
pieces. We started with, talking about the dental plan, moving, to, a medical insurance plan, and also a pay scale And he's incorporated the first step of that pay scale in these numbers.
Mhm.
The medical really is a negotiation thing that is
Yeah.
gonna have to take a little bit more time. But we did run some rough numbers. It's not in the $500,000 range, but you know,
Let
when
me give
you're
you a
going
rough
up,
number
in-
on medical right now.
when you're going up in salary, you're also Medicare, Social Security, you got a whole bunch of fringes that you have to like
Right.
increase, and we've started building some numbers around that.
Allison, since they're technically not a Borough of Naugatuck department, can they be on the Borough of Naugatuck?
Currently,
medical?
they're in the plan with the library, but not everyone. So there's a building blocks to this. There's certain people that are in the plan right now, certain people who are not, and it's like, okay, well, there's gotta be a dollar number to take everybody, if that's the choice, to having benefits or tiering them in and then building that up. But it would be a really large number to put everybody on medical and
So with the
What's
the
large
full,
number?
it is, with the full-time employees we have now, and where I see, where I want things to go, we would increase our full-time number, right? We have plenty of employees that at times work those full-time hours, right? Because if they want to, overtime. We have a number of employees that wanna be full-time, but we're just not at a point where we can offer that, right? So if you look at a rate increase to get them at that above, at that average, a little bit higher than average number, on top of an increase for health care benefits for what we have now. Our healthcare benefits for the 4 full-timers we have now is about $4,500 a month. So you add all that up together and you're looking at about $150,000 a year. Right? That $150,000 a year this year would help to cover, mostly cover all of those health benefits and for the ones that we would increase the full-time and hourly wage increases for all of the entities.
and that's on the library plan.
Yes, yes, we are,
So the town's plan is even larger per person.
right. So we pay the full premium of it. We're just, I guess, gifted that opportunity to use it. But we pay the full piece of that. Now, that doesn't include things like paid time off, vacation and sick time and things like that, taxes and insurance and all that kind of stuff. Workers' comp is gonna go up because the hourly rate and the dollar amount's gonna go up. Obviously payroll taxes and things like that. That doesn't incorporate all that. So that's a rough number. That's a rough.
So you think roughly 150,000, and your total ask is just 20
This year.
additional?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've tried to move some things and to try and get, like I said, some of the capital done to move around and if we could free up some of the general expense and add it into the capital expenses and different things like that, it would be easier, but
Are you looking at like a 3-year plan?
Yeah, so
5 year?
we have, currently we have a portion of what you're asking for. It's a 3-year hourly rate increase. Not including like the fringe benefits, just the hourly rate. We have that bill, which I could send to you folks if I take the names out of it, obviously, but I don't have to.
No, we don't need all that.
No.
I don't think that's needed at this point, but I think that for the rest of, the board here, looking at just a $20,000 increase when he could offer benefits and have raises that are considerably better than working at McDonald's for a much more challenging, difficult job. I think that's something I would request from you, Chief, if you can, for when we get to the next segment of your cycle, if you can get us a closer than rough number to what that looks like, because I think it should be something that should be considered for this year. That's just my opinion, obviously. I don't control the board here.
What's the
but-
hourly rate, regular hours worked that kicks you over into benefits?
40 hours with a full-time status.
And the ratio of part-time to full-time right now?
We have 5 full-time status employees, 4 of which receive benefits, one does not. And the rest are all, I'm sorry, 6 full-time employees. 2 do not receive benefits, the other 4 do, and the rest are all part-time / per diem, mix of both.
So I'm just giving that a point of reference to you, is if you'd have to make other managerial decisions if, based on what your thoughts are.
Yeah. Naturally.
And, I just got a text from Lee saying that Joe had a question, but I don't,
Oh, Joe, go ahead. Sorry.
Excuse me. Whenever we're looking to hire somebody, within the town, we always want to give them higher salary because we don't want to lose them to somebody else or to another town. Same with the firefighters and all this. Here we have one of the more critical, if not the most critical, aspect of employment in the town, saving lives, obviously. Why not, again, we compare this to a $15 an hour McDonald wage. But in reality, what is the actual value? How can we establish that value? Can we, do it somehow through contingency funds, fundraising outside? I don't know. But I certainly have to agree that first responders are grossly underpaid for what they do. And I'm just wondering if we can find a mechanism somehow to perhaps accelerate how we can go ahead and find them a more reasonable rate per hour, again, above the average, and increase benefits, and a solid staff that's willing to stay here and make a career or semi-career out of working for Naugatuck. So I'm just throwing it out on the floor at this point for thought, but I do think we need to focus on that more solidly and see if we can come up or devise something that'll allow us to pay the going wage, if not more, to retain these people. And the services have been great. I mean, I speak that from firsthand 3 times in a year, but they do a great job. And I think it's important that we maintain as high a salary within reason as we can. And the other thing, while I'm on this subject, if I can throw this out, or I forget because I'm so old. Looking at the fire department, the public works and so on and so forth, one of the things I think we need to address is what's going to happen in the future here, because we're going to have some significant increases, I think, in capital equipments. There's going to be some additional costs with the Amazon warehouse going in. Yeah, they're going to pay more taxes, but there's increases there and things that are going to have to be done. Road maintenance, equipment, the apartments, the new buildings that are coming into town, the railroad station, the new tenants that are coming, you're going to need additional services, for instance, medical services, fire service, and so on. And I think we should, at this point, start thinking and planning for that now, rather than waiting and saying, okay, let's do this now, because we got lead times on equipment. Ken had mentioned, or one of the assistant chiefs had mentioned earlier, about equipment, if they ordered it now or in a year or two, would be out to 2030 or 2031. Was that correct when I heard that, right? So I just think we should start incorporating some of these things into strategic values, not only for this coming year budget, but what's going to happen with all this expansion that's going on. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
just want to point out
Yes.
that, the line item on an income for Town of Naugatuck Capital Reserve, which he's requesting 68,268, you're gonna see that in the capital reserve budget request.
Oh, from his internal budget
Correct.
document, I see.
Yeah, you'll see that again, capital
capital
reserve
side, yeah.
request.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna step out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
go save some lives.
Thank you, Josh.
All right, up next is A22 Emergency Management.
The request, we stay the same as last year.
Are you handling?
Yeah, but
Oh.
just keep it the same as last year. chunk of that is the code red system, for emergency notifications, and we get reimbursement from the state.
Yeah, emergency management is easy.
And the bond package, that was easy, I had that.
That was easy one, yeah. Any other questions for emergency management? Okay, we'll cruise right along. Next up is A25 Safety Patrol,
Same as last year, only takes.
$3,000, okay, no change. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. And then we got fire police, letter A, number 26.
They are not here.
They're not here.
No change,
They're supposed to be here. I talked to them earlier. They're supposed to be here.
no change.
No change.
Yeah, there's no change. It looks like, actually, wait. 24, 25. Looks like there was a decrease, actually. Last year we did 48,500. This time they're coming in at 33,000.
They requested 48.5.
It's the same as what we approved last year.
Yeah.
That's because we knocked the Class A uniforms out.
Okay,
last year.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
$33.
I should look one line over to the
Yes,
adopted line.
Mhm.
What would I do without you guys?
That's not what we hear. Yes, it does say flat fee this year also.
But you ask him what you get.
That's it, that's it.
That's what it should be.
And whatever it is, they save us thousands of dollars a
They,
year.
they
Oh,
were
yeah.
out a lot this past weekend with the wires down calls. They've been out very big outside.
They free up the police for those things.
They watch our backs.
Yeah.
All right, we did just a little thing in the fire police. I was asked when they started. And I'm a history guy, I jumped into history. I got into the old newspapers. The volunteer fire company was formed in 1888. And I have a newspaper article from 1892 talking about the fire police. 1892. They've been around at least that long.
There were people then?
Yeah, they've been- yeah, I think some of the papers do this stuff.
Where their record?
So they've been around for a long time.
All right, so that wraps up our session tonight. We will reconvene again next Monday, the 24th at 6:30, same place, same time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.